That's excellent, Jimmy. Oh, hello, everyone. Jonathan Munsell here.
Jimmy Borneman, how you doing, guys?
There he is. That was funny. Um, so we just kicked this live on both of our Facebook pages, and Jimmy made a funny haha joke on the way in. So you got me laughing right out of the gate, Jimmy, which I love.
That's awesome.
So how you been, man?
I've been amazing. Been a little bit since we spoke, but life is good. Life is on fire.
Yeah, it's been crazy. If you guys don't know this about Jimmy and I, but we develop a couple different software programs together for the restaurant industry, and so restaurant VIP program is developed by us, and it is a labor of love, right, Jimmy?
Oh boy!
So, in addition to work. In addition to working with our regular clients, and we both have coaching clients and all kinds of things going on. Never mind life and family and all that. But in the tweeners, we have weaved in over the past 5 years, developing the most badass restaurant VIP loyalty rewards program. So if you've not checked that out, I encourage everybody. But Jimmy and I have been back and forth texting all day long, and it's just nice to be able to see them, lay eyes on them, and say, "Hey, buddy."
Exactly. Instead of just back and forth. It's nice. It's nice.
So since the last time we talked, I was in Europe actually. I think the last time we posted our podcast. Hey, check out this shirt, Jimmy. I got this. This is Norwegian. It's actually a new friend, a buddy of mine now in Norway actually gave me this. He owns a really badass car place, and I was eyeing up his shirt, and he was like one of these guys who's just like schwink. He's like, here you go. So I'm pretty excited.
Nice.
I was getting dressed this morning, and I was like, oh God, what a great friggin' color on that shirt. So, yeah.
It's a good looking shirt, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I was over in England, I was in France, and hit Norway, and back to the States, and God, I've been head down ever since, working with clients. And today, I hit you up earlier, and I wanted to talk specifically about, reasons that restaurant owners stink at bringing back their existing customers. And you and I lament over this all the time. So is that a topic you can dive into today with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can see the screen, right, Jimmy?
Yes, sir. There's a Facebook Live over the top of it.
Oh,
kind of cluttering it.
900 tabs that I always have.
Yeah.
I never know what to do with the Facebook Live thing. If we get comments, we'll see. I'd love to be able to see them. I don't know how all that works.
Yeah, we'll get there. We're a tech company, but don't know Facebook stuff. How funny is that?
I don't have to go live on Facebook, but there we go. I can see it right on there. I go right to Restaurant Success. So anybody, hello in Facebook world out there. So Jimmy, talk to me about bringing back customers in general. What are your thoughts on it? How does it play into restaurant marketing? Talk to me a little bit.
Well, one of my is it's easier for me to engage with my existing restaurant clients, invite them back into the restaurant time and time again. They become raving fans. They become just family members, if you will. So if you're talking about communicating with my existing client base, it's a staple. If you're talking about clients that we've lost, that's a whole nother road. I'm not sure which way you wanted to go.
Yeah, I mean, they're all on there today. They're all topics that I want to dive into. These are basically bullet points for you and I to roll through and give some background on. It drives me nuts. I see folks that are advertising in Valpak and Money Mailer and all these different programs, and everybody, they just, they are just dying to get more new customers in their business. And then when you actually talk to them, they're not doing shit for their existing customers.
Exactly.
Oh my God, what are you doing? 2/3 of the equation, 2 parts of 3 are taking care of your existing guests, getting them to come back more often and spend more money.
That's the only way you can succeed.
Absolutely. Yeah, so if you're spending money on marketing and advertising and you're putting a single dollar out there to get somebody in the door and you're not doing anything, I'm gonna hit the first one right off the bat. It's in most cases, they don't even know how to get the information, Jimmy. They don't know how to capture. I call it name capture. They don't know how to capture the names of the folks that are coming through the door. So, and I've seen all different versions. I've seen the dirty, email list on top of the garbage can and that they're expecting people to sign up for, which never seems, it's like the list is really long and really dirty. So it means that they're not like taking it in the back and like putting it in the computer. I've seen the old name in the bucket, right? These are all still valid. I'm not saying that, like, in my world, you do everything that you humanly possibly can. And a good example is a client of ours. Tell about our client in Texas, Jimmy.
Yeah, just amazing at capturing all.
Your audio is a little wonky on me. I don't know if everybody's experiencing that. So Jimmy was talking about one of our clients, and it's a client in Texas, and he's a rewards member, a couple restaurants, and we rolled out the program for him. And he's been around. He's been with Restaurant Success System for years, and we have all these new bells and whistles and things. And he jumped wholeheartedly in. And when we put out the program, one of the things that I encourage, I was like, you know what? I really still think you need to do manual name capture. So at the very least, you should be capturing names with a basic sign-up form. And it could be an enter to win. It could be a birthday registration. It could be, anything, and you should always still be doing that. And you still should be putting those folks in your database. So he went out and we actually run the whole entire rewards program for him. So we can see who's coming in manually and who's coming in digitally. And, and he's got a lot of people that are still coming in manually. There's a burden of, I lost you there for a little bit. There's a burden of, you have these cards and you got to enter them, but we have resources for that. I mean, if that's my problem, every single name that I get on one of these cards that we use in a restaurant, every single one of them has value. I mean, if I can get that person to come back in the restaurant, right? Even if you just made $1 off of every single meal that you sold, and I hope you make more than that, but if you made $1 off of every single meal that you sold or every single guest that came through the door, wouldn't you want to have 1 million of them? So the more ways you can capture names is really important. So capturing them actually, I think, is the easier part. Jimmy and I, we always talk, we recommend a digital solution, text VIP to this number, boom, they end up in a database. They get sent a text. The text message actually brings them to a web form. And there's a lot of value there with the web form because you can do it a couple different ways. We can pull people through Facebook and get them into our list. We can pull them through this web form. And if the web form's done right, we can actually utilize information to get them through our existing websites, and we can pixel them and we can do some different things, a lot of advanced marketing strategies by doing one simple thing. But the reality is that, you should have multiple ways to capture the information. It all needs to land in the same place. So it needs to end up into a database. That's the terminology that Jimmy and I have used forever, is a database.
Yep.
And a database is good, but you really need a CRM, right? Customer relationship management software that you can do things with it. And one of the things I see a lot of, and I work with folks all the time, and I talk about loyalty and rewards and capturing information all the time. And one of the things that inevitably happens is people have a sign-up form on their website that leads to an email capture, and they're actually doing some good stuff. So they're capturing some names, they're capturing some birthdays, they're capturing email. That, at the very least, I'm at least impressed they get the value of it.
Right.
There's a whole different thing that happens with it, and it comes up later on as we talk, but it's what you do with the data and how you utilize the data to really get your message to the right people at the right time, saying the right thing. So it's really a message to market match that you ultimately wanted to do. And I'll leave that open for when we talk about segmentation, Jimmy, because you put together one of the most badass segmentation things I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So you got to have a reliable way to capture information, and it all needs to land in the same place. That place needs to do things for you. email is great. It ideally should also do texting. And then on top of that, I believe in direct mail, and I think, you should be mailing. And in some cases, you're going to get one of each of those pieces of information. Well, if I have any one of those, I can do something with it. So that's
of all three, I can dominate.
Yeah, if I can get all three, I can send you something. If you don't use it, I can remind you with a text. I can follow up with an email. Hey, that was the Dr. Feelgood finger there, Jimmy.
Little mini me.
So let's talk about number two. And this is the one that I pound on the most is about communicating to your existing customers in multiple ways. So any thoughts, any off the top of the head?
Yeah, I teach you communicate with your existing customers to the point of a conversation. Some people get scared about communicating too much, but if your existing customers already know you and you're talking to them often, they're gaining trust in you, and it's like a conversation that happens. So don't get too scared of doing too much. Yeah,
so recently I was talking to a client, and I'd asked them about the size. They had an email list that they had kind of started and fumbled with. I asked them, are you sending out at least a regular monthly email? And they're like, well, we started to, and, we haven't done one in 6 months.
Yeah, then she quit.
Yeah, the girl that used to do it, and then my wife did it, and, now it's on me, and it's not happening. So, at the very least, you should be communicating every 30 days. And I'm actually going to tell you the easiest way to do this, but I'm going to tell you an advanced strategy also around communication. So every 30 days, you should at least send out something. I mean, if you're in a restaurant and you have a calendar, you can look at the calendar and pick 3 dates of things that are coming up in the next month, right? We have September coming up, so we have holidays in every single month. You can create some things around that. In my world, we do a whole call once a month. We plan 3 months into the future, and we're ahead of it with all of my members. But the reality is that, even if you don't do any of that, okay, you at least should look at the calendar, figure out a couple things that you want to clue in on, and then you got a basis to talk about. So the basics that everybody should do is you should have some type of monthly feature. Right? Jimmy, don't you believe just whatever's in season? If, catfish is in season, then, and it's even on your menu already, it doesn't matter. Take a menu item and either repackage it or just talk about it. So there's one thing that's on this, think of it as a very simple newsletter email. And I believe that you should actually take that same piece. And I believe that you create an email newsletter with it. You create a handout or a bag stuffer or a flyer. You can actually hang them in different places around your business. You can hand them to every customer. You can put them in every to-go bag that you have, but it's all the same material because you can't assume that people are getting it, and you certainly can't assume that people are looking at it. And I'm telling you right now, if your restaurant sent me an email, the odds of me diving into it are pretty slim. And I'm in the restaurant business, and you may even be a customer of mine, but I'm telling you, we're inundated with that stuff. I cherry pick the hell out of the 5 email addresses that I have. I pick and choose what I actually want to look at and see and view, because it just becomes too much. So don't assume that one email is getting it done.
So true, Jonathan. The clutter is outstanding.
Yeah, so things you can communicate. So right off the bat, you have some type of monthly feature. I recommend a featured entree. I like to spin it up and do a dessert too. Why not? Why not do something a little more expensive, a little bit more robust? Now you have 2 items that you're actually featuring that you can talk about the quality and the love and the attention you put into your food. The other ones are date driven, right? Every single month has some type of holiday. Even if the holiday is, you're not doing anything for it, Flag Day, it doesn't matter. It's a reason to talk about it. There's lots of different weird little holidays that fall into every single month. So you have this holiday mentality that you're always talking about. And then you should have some type of an event or something going on inside of your restaurant each month. You should plan something, either a big Friday night, a Saturday, a Sunday, something. It could be your birthday. It could be the birthday of your dog. It doesn't matter. You just need some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, just highlight a waitress's birthday that that one that's been there forever, but that has regular customers all over the place.
Yeah, another great thing to put into this little piece that you're coming up with is, do an employee spotlight. I mean, how good, that person that's worked for 5, 10 years, that's grinding it out, you put their picture and you just love on them. And then you're giving that to, 1,000 people that come through your doors. I mean, I think that person would probably appreciate it. Another thing to do in it is you can actually have a little thing where you say, hey, I'm hiring, so that could fill a little spot. And another thing I recommend, if you've never done it, I think everybody should have some type of brand statement that they utilize. And the brand statement is just really your commitment. So whatever you're committed to, and if it's obviously quality and freshness and caring and providing for the environment, taking care of your family, all of those things should fall into it. And then the other easiest thing to do is a did you know? Did you know that we hand cut our French fries? Did you know that the catfish is a 30-year-old recipe that was handed down from generation to generation? You have some did you knows that that are really cool that nobody else knows.
Absolutely. So true. So true.
Use this format. Use the once a month. If you've never done it before, use the once a month format. Even if you don't even have email, I don't care if you handwrite the thing and photocopy it. I've seen letters from kids, handwritten in crayon, photocopied, given out in restaurants that work like phenomenally as a promotion.
Yes, it did.
Don't overthink it. Just do whatever you can to get it out. Okay. So start with once a month. But like Jimmy said, there's this dialogue that needs to happen more often, right? Once you get to once a month, then think about once a week. Once a week becomes easier. And here's the gold of communication. And the goal of communication that I think is, if you are using date-based events, so say, this Friday, we're going to have a chili cook-off at the restaurant. So I now have this week, I know when that chili cook-off is going to hit, right? So I have this date that's there. Well, before it, I can start making some social media posts. I'm going to put it in my newsletter, or this thing that I'm going to create. I'm going to put it there. So now I got stuff. I'm hitting up to it. I'm getting people excited. Day of, you go and you post live. You take pictures and you put that stuff, boom, it goes up. After the event, you talk about for a few more days. You thank everybody, right afterwards, you thank everybody. And then a day or two later, I got more pictures, and you post those. So if you look at a one-day event in your restaurant, it's like 10 days of marketing.
Yep.
And it creates that conversation that Jimmy was talking about. It creates that dialogue of like, hey, we're getting ready. We just got in 600 pounds of beef and 900 pounds of beans, for the chili cook-off. Can't wait. Oh, we just got a late entry. Oh, there's just everything that you take for granted that you just think is probably at some level annoying to you is excitement to other people. Other people have boring lives compared to restaurant owners. They love to hear about yours.
So true. So true. They want to do what we do. Oh, too funny.
So Jimmy, so communication is huge. And if you're not doing it, and I'm telling you, once you get into the habit of it and you start doing it, it actually comes really easy. But the one thing that's really hard to do that people don't get, and especially if you don't have the number one, which is a database, and you don't have a system of capturing people's information. And this is where I differentiate the difference between having, an email list and a list of people compared to having a system that helps manage this and actually tracks the frequency or the spend of folks. So in my world, it's like loyalty is the base, and then there's rewards. Would you agree with that, Jimmy?
Double thumbs up if you can see the camera.
Double thumbs up. So talk to me about the differences to you, Jimmy.
Well, it's the same thing. Loyalty is getting people to be raving fans and be loyal and choosing you to come to have dinner, reminding them to come visit you over at the next guy. And rewards is when they get there, giving them a reward and incentive for being there. Maybe it's frequency, maybe it's dollars spent, but I'm rewarding them for coming to visit me. That's how I kind of compartmentalize it, put in a box.
Yeah, so those are the two. But the cool thing is, on the reward side to Jimmy and I, is we have, since the loyalty side, you don't know. Like, people are on your email list. Are they coming into the restaurant? Are they not coming? I mean, it seems like it's working. I'm sending stuff out and people are showing up and I'm getting good feedback. But you have nothing statistically based to know that if any of this is working. And it's the old Barnum and Bailey, Jimmy. If 50, they say 50% of my marketing is working. If I could only figure out what 50% it was, I'd stop the other. You don't know what's working. You're just throwing a bunch of shit on the wall for
Call it shotgun marketing. Yep.
And something's working. So God bless. Don't stop any of it. My advice is get more organized. So now if you take it from this email list and this online sign up and this lack of ability to track and see stuff, now take it to a whole nother level and make it a rewards program, and it's transactional based or frequency based, and every time somebody comes in the restaurant, they spend, $50, it's getting added up for them. And then you reward them, right? They get to 200, you give them 10. So that's like the baseline of the program.
Correct.
But the thing that we're talking about is now every time that I do something, that person is actually connected to the database, right? Yep. The other way, they're just like floating out there and I'm hoping it's working. Now I know, right? Yep. And now when I make an offer to somebody, or if I have my birthday program, I can send it and then I see it come back and I can check that name off the list. And we do all this automated, but essentially if you were doing this manually, we did this a long time ago manually, that's what you would do. You'd have a list of all the people that came in, the list of people you sent to, you'd be like, check, 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 check. Hey, I sent out 300 birthday cards, 100 of them came in, I got a 33% redemption rate, and I made X amount of dollars. That's the bare minimum. Yep. But imagine now that it's not their birthday, you don't have any events going on, but you have these people that are coming in. Well, what happens when they stop coming in and they don't respond to the birthdays, and you haven't seen them and you don't know why? Well, if you have a system that's tracking them and it ties them back, the power of that information is, they have not transacted since X date. Well, the technology that we use says, well, if they haven't been here in 30 days, I'm going to trigger something automatically that's going to send them a message that invites them back in. Or just ask the question, hey, how you been? Where you been? Let me know you're alive, right? And then at 60 days, and then at 90 days, right? Because if you're getting further and further away, every 30 days you don't communicate with somebody that's on your list or coming to your restaurant, you're risking the chance of losing them. Because the thing that happens in those 30 days, the 60 days, the 90 days is other people are communicating to them. Right? Somewhere around here, I got a Valpak packet, right? It lands on their lap. Their wife says, hey, there's a new place in town. Their friend invites them over here. And the risk you run is that they're better marketers than you and that they actually capture their information and they make them loyal customers.
Correct.
They already have them. They're already there. Look out the dining room. The next time you're standing in the dining room, look at the dining room and be like, these are my customers, my guests.
Take care of them.
And I cherish them because they pay my bills and they put my kids through school. So, I would treat them differently. And you treat people differently that transact and spend more with you. And not only does it work on the lost customer. And when I talk about lost customer in multiple ways, it goes back to what Jimmy and I were talking about. Email is great, but how about you shoot them a text? How about when all else has failed, you've actually hit them with email, you've hit them with a text. Well, why not mail them something? Or even worse, if you know the lifetime value of a customer in your business, and I'm telling you, if you sell hot dogs, and people come once a month for hot dogs, you're at least like, $600 or $800 per person in lifetime value. If you have a nice restaurant at like $12, you're in like the $3,000 to $4,000 range. If you got 25, you're in the $6,000 to $10,000 range of your check average, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Now, lifetime value, think about it. It's like these people come multiple times, they bring friends, they refer people, and I keep them for, say, 5 years, right? So they have a lifetime value. Well, if a lifetime value of a customer in my world is the one transaction, that's not so good.
Right.
But what would you do if you knew that somebody that was worth $1,000, even just say it's 500, Jimmy, for just shits and giggles.
Yep.
If I told you that there was somebody that was worth $500 to your restaurant and you have no way of knowing if they're coming into your restaurant, not coming into your restaurant, if they're transacting or if they're never coming back or have never been back, would that not drive you nuts? I mean, if I told you you had $500, so
I'm looking at 10 people going, holy shit, how do I capitalize that? I need to get my hands.
Yeah, right. 10 people's 5,000, Jimmy. And I'm telling you, every time we dig into a database, we find that there's a lot of lost customers.
Yep.
We see it a lot of times. People have started programs and then they've stopped them. And then they started something else and they stopped it.
Yep.
And like there's a list over here and there's a list over here. And it's like, holy cow, when you put all the lists together, they're not the same.
Right. They get sold some shiny object from salesman, and it's the next greatest thing. And
it's just one simple, affordable system you need to do all this. So, okay, so if I now said I'm going to email them, I'm going to text them, and I've now sent them a letter, I've sent them a postcard, I would actually pick up the phone. And we could automate that for you too. There's voice broadcasting we can do, and we can hit everybody. But if they were really, if they're really worth $500, $1,000, $2,000 to you, hey, wouldn't it be nice to be able to pick up the phone? Oh, no. You only have an email address. Oh. That's my thing, man. Jimmy, I'm telling you, I talk to restaurateurs every day about this stuff. And it's like, those are the caveats that I see. Oh, that email list. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
really hard to mail somebody something with an email list.
So you've got a pretty restaurant. So what? So
what, right?
What?
We got a whole list of those. So what?
Yeah, so what? Who cares?
You fly in your fish from right in Alaska.
So what?
You can't reach your guests and ask them to come in whenever you want. That's a problem.
That's you know what? You had a storm recently down there in Raleigh, and a lot of your power was out.
Yep.
On the other side of town, it wasn't. How cool would it have been to say, "Hey, we're open. We got power," into that neighborhood of your customers who?
Pop out a text. Boom.
Yeah.
Hey, I know people are struggling with power and electricity. Come on down. We're giving away free sodas, and we're here and we're open.
Yep. But if you don't have that information,
you can't use it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the next couple ones, Jimmy, I think are like, there's a lot of value, and these are the ones that I think people, when they look at a list like this, they kind of like, oh yeah, and they kind of like, okay. So let's talk about cleanliness of your list, right? Just like, every day I scrub a dub. You need to scrub your list. You need to keep your list clean. So what we're referring to when we talk about having a clean list, Jimmy, give us that.
Well, in my opinion, it is the address up to date? Is the email bouncing? Did they get remarried? That information that you've just got to update it. Because if I'm sending out an anniversary and they're divorced, dumbass, but how am I supposed to know? That kind of stuff, keeping it clean.
Yeah. So, think about it. I'm sure everybody that's listening at some point or another, you've had a different job than you've had today.
Yeah.
And nowadays, they give you an email. Hey, it's Jimmy at Jimmy's, here you go. Here's your new email address. And then you use that email address, and then you switch jobs, and now the email address is gone. And so what do? They go in their system and go delete, right? But people are still sending stuff to that. And you try your best to migrate them over. It never all really works. So the right answer is that, if you have other information with those folks, you can clean the list, and then you can figure out tactics to do with it. Okay. So there's like a whole bunch of advanced strategies that I don't think people ever think about when they're thinking about loyalty and rewards, and how this stuff really plays out in the back end that adds a tremendous amount of value. The data and the analytics, and to be able to slice and dice the data is where the real value is. So I have emails that are bouncing, but I also see that person is still transacting at my restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, right. I still see that they're in my rewards program, and the points are still adding up.
Yep.
Well, a couple of things are happening. If you run it all via email, and this is one of those things that I always warn about, if your whole program is based off of email, even inside of our program, if you opt for an email version of what we do for economics, well, what happens when that person's email address is bouncing, but we know that they're still transacting? It means they're getting rewards, but then they're actually not actually earning them, which means ultimately they're either going to get pissed off, or you're not communicating to them enough.
Correct.
And you're going to slowly, you'll see it'll start to get spread out, and then they'll go away. So what do you do? What do you do, Jimmy? How do you fix that problem?
Well, that's a tough one. We set up something where they can log in to the system and update that information on their own. We'll use your newsletter as an example. We'll say, hey, if your job's changed or you've moved, don't forget to log in and update us so that we can send you more of your information. But we took that away from them by giving them a way to come and update it.
Yeah, so you got to give your people a way to keep their own data updated. I agree with that. But the basics that at the very least you should do is if their information is bouncing and your email is bouncing, you know, again, in our world, we believe in capturing a lot of information. I get name, address, phone number, I get their birth date, their anniversary, I get their spouse, I get their children, I get their birthdays, I get everybody's information. And you'd be crazy. I can show you stacks of cards. Everybody's like, oh, nobody's going to fill that out. I'm like, oh yeah, watch this. Right? You know,
even asked the dog's birthday once.
So all of a sudden you have a lot of information. The more information that you actually capture, and the system that Jimmy and I built, we get the minimal amount of information up front, and then we keep coming back to get them to give us more information. And you can reward them for actually giving you more information. So, you know, if information's valuable, and I'm telling you it's super valuable, because if I only have an email address and I don't have their cell phone number, I can't text them. I can't text them and say, hey, your email address is bouncing and you're missing out on rewards. If I don't have their actual address and proper name and identification, I can't mail them a postcard that says, hey, your email address is messed up. But you know what I can do, Jimmy? And I've shamelessly done this. I have posted people's names in my newsletter. And I've said, hey, if your name is on this list, you've won a prize.
Log in.
Pretty good, right? You know? It's like, hey, my name's on the list. Yes, it is. I've been looking for you. Those are some good tricks you can use, but the more information and the better you clean your list, and you should do it regularly, you know, at least quarterly. We do whole account reviews every quarter. You should absolutely, at least every quarter, just sit down and look at like, okay, do I have bad information? What's not going, you know, what's happening with the stuff that I have?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things, Jonathan, not only the bounces, but if we're sending emails and they're not opening them, by the fifth time you're sending an email, if they're just not opening it, is it in spam? Is it in one of those Google folders they're not looking at? Is it in one of their 300 emails they get a day in their Outlook? You know, you got to use that knowledge to go, well, if they're not opening it, I got to talk to them in a different way. Or it's bouncing, I got to talk to them in a different way. And that data is huge. It's huge.
Absolutely. And again, if you make your restaurant engaging and fun, you know, people will want to open your stuff. That's the other thing about it. You know, they know that when you're communicating, it's actually something that they want to check out. They don't want to miss out on that good time. FOMO, right? You know, fear of missing out.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're good at this, your customers will have FOMO and they will want to open your stuff. So let's talk about, so list cleanliness and having more access into your data is super important. Okay. Do you like that move, Jimmy?
Yeah, that was good. That was,
right, you got to like get into the data.
Jiggy with it.
So list segmentation, and this is one of those things that like I'm like a ninja at this, and there's a lot of reasons why it's important. So list segmentation means I have a big list, I break it into smaller chunks based off of information and data that I have.
Yep.
Okay. That's all it is. Okay. That's the, you know, but I'm telling you the power of it is really good. So Jimmy and I, we developed a system where we actually are able to segregate people on interests and selections that they make as being part of our rewards program. And it allows us to put them in different buckets per se. And the real value to me is, you know, so we talked, our first strategy was you create some type of newsletter, something that you're going to give out to everybody. And you're going to hope that something on that list they resonate with.
Yep.
Well, that's okay. It's an okay strategy, but you can't do that all the time. You wear your list out. Okay. You can't keep sending that same one piece to somebody every 3 days. You can't put it on Facebook every 2 days. You can't email it to them once a week. It's the same thing. They get tired of it. But imagine that you were actually able to like reach out to them and hit them, you know, with something that is directly related to them and speak to them about their stuff. Now that's totally different, because if you're communicating to me about things that you know that I'm interested in, then you're going to get my attention and you're going to get more open rates and more responses. An example might be if people like football, right? Like, okay, well, hey, I'm not gonna put I might put a football section in my newsletter thing and say, hey, we're always running the games, but I might actually communicate the schedule of the football and maybe even what televisions I'm gonna put them on in my restaurant if I know that I have people that actually like football, right? Don't send that to the person that doesn't like football. That would be kind of annoying. But if somebody, hey, here's the upcoming schedule for the week in football, and here's the specials we're running alongside of it. I don't know. Now you got 2 reasons to open that email, right? Hey, I want to know what the damn football schedule is, and I don't want to have to go look it up on my phone or wherever. And shit, I want to know what the food specials are, and if I can take the 2 of them and put them together, and I'm going to watch my team on the day that they have wings or whatever it is, man, I'm in heaven. So imagine. That person likes wings. That person likes the Panthers. I mean, North Carolina. And that their buddy likes boneless wings and he likes the Jets. And those 2 are playing on Thursday night. What could you do with that?
Oh, yeah.
Talk about list segmentation.
Yeah.
Hey, I know that your team is playing on Thursday. And I know you love wings, and we have them.
Yep. Exactly.
Here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I'm going to do for you.
Exactly.
So list segmentation, and there's lots of different things. So the technology, and if you've not plugged into, it's out there somewhere in the world, Jimmy, our 10 promotions. But in our promotions, we talk about a lot of different things that we do with segmenting lists or subgroups inside of our clubs, inside of our restaurants. And, if I have people that, are churchgoers, then, and they do something, and we have a whole church program that we administer. Well, okay, great. I want to talk to the churchgoers about church. I don't want to talk to the atheists about church. So just think about list segmentation as that message to market match. The better you can get that thing and the more specific you can get it, the better you're going to be. Somebody sends me stuff about AARP, and I laugh about this. I have a buddy of mine that recently got his AARP card. Yeah, there you go. Jimmy, so if you're talking about old people things, Jimmy's your guy.
Hey.
I just had a birthday. I'm 46 years old. I'm sure I just triggered the list of AARP. I'm sure they start recruiting you early.
Yeah. And I just hit 50. So yeah, I'm on it.
Yeah. So and again, if they're smart, which they are, they know everybody's birthday in America and they, and they're going to send you something, right? Because they're smart. They go and they buy that data. They know, hey, everybody that turns 50 needs to get their this, because when do you qualify for it? 50, 55?
So true. 50 years old, baby.
50, right? Yeah. So again, list segmentation, think of it that way, is that the better you can segment your list, and then you have less list fatigue, I call it, because you may be sending out a lot more. You may have a lot more activity. The cool thing is that Jimmy and I can automate that stuff. But if you can't automate it, it's a lot more work, because now I have a list of 500 football fans and 600 hockey fans, and and I have all these different lists, and I gotta kind of keep up with that. And you can do that, but just think of the power, because the messaging is not going to be just hey, I have 10 things on a sheet of paper, look at me. I hope one of them resonates with you.
Exactly. Been there, done that.
Yeah. So that segmentation, I think it's hugely important, completely underutilized, especially if you just have an email list. And for those of you that just have email lists, I hope you are getting the message.
Call us.
And the last one, which is the big one, is restaurant owners. Jimmy and I've done it. We know you don't have time to do all this stuff. I mean, if you're trying to grow sales any way you can. So you're actively involved in the restaurant. You're trying to develop your business so someday you can maybe step back a little bit, which means you're working with your people. you're constantly looking at numbers and crunching numbers and calculating food cost and labor and paying bills. And, we know, it's an 80 to 100 hour a week job. And, it's like, that's real. And that's like, that's when, if you don't do the math, don't ever do the math on how many hours you work.
Never, ever, ever, ever.
Ever, ever. Rule number one, right? Never, ever calculate your hourly wage as a restaurant owner. So, because again, you're home on the crapper and you're thinking about it. Like my lawyer, on the other hand, he's home on the crapper thinking about my case, and I get a bill. It's like, it's different. It just weighs on you. I know. We've done it forever. I mean, I've been doing this for 30 years.
Right.
So we know that it's difficult, but I'm telling you, if you want to guard yourself against your competitors and people that are actually maybe employing a little bit better technology and have some of the stuff that Jimmy and I are talking about figured out really well, like I'm telling you, you have to think that way. It is you against the world. It is hand-to-hand combat out there. It is a fixed bayonets.
Yep.
So I'm just telling you, you got it. This little bit of information that we're sharing tonight, we share it because it's probably the number one thing that I recommend to everybody that I coach and consult with across the world, is that you have the fundamentals of what we just talked about.
So true. So true.
I don't know what else to say about it. We'll have to talk about putting the Fab Four, Jimmy, the Fab Four. There's 4 things that you can do for your marketing. And if you do them really, really well, you'll crush it. So we'll have to, that's my teaser for our next one, Jimmy, is the Fab Four. Fab Four.
I love it.
Yep. So there's Fab Four. There's 4 things that you can do and you will master restaurant marketing.
Yep.
What else you want to throw out there, Jimmy? Anything?
What's that, Jonathan?
Anything else you want to throw out there?
No, other than that last part about the restaurants and the marketing experts, restaurant guys are some of the smartest, and they get down in the mud more than anybody I know. And they'll go research about the Facebook ads and ManyChat, and they'll go look about direct mail, and they get overwhelmed with all this shit they could do. They just sit it on a plate. They just don't get to it. They get caught up in, ordering food or going to a networking meeting and all this other stuff. So they are unbelievably smart enough to do what we're telling them. They just don't know how to execute it. And I just wanted to wrap it with that is, sometimes you just need help. You need a coach.
Yeah. So one of the things that and it's a huge topic. It's one of the things that we cover, inside of my restaurant success system, because inside of that, we do a lot of goal setting. We do a lot of mindset stuff for restaurant owners. And I agree with you 100%. I think restaurant owners are the hardest working, some of the most intelligent people I've ever met. They're in most cases, I think completely underpaid,
yep.
In the sense that, for the amount of stuff that they're able to process and shift gears, you can go in the kitchen and, it can be on fire. You can be out there talking to a customer a minute later. Oh, all is well. How are you?
They're like,
and like, that's an amazing talent. I'm telling you, there's, there's a lot of value to that in other industries that, you look at the tech world. I just did a huge thing in the tech industry, and I'm telling you that they can't do that. They don't even want to talk to people, right? They all build technology so they can hide. So if you could actually go and talk to people, imagine that.
Yeah, who would have thunk?
Yeah, so the biggest thing I talk about, Jimmy, is I think people run out of time. And I think that they have the best intentions, and they constantly are educating themselves, and they're learning, and then you dive into it, and then you get into it, and then, you look at the clock, and it's just like, oh my God, I got to get to Jimmy's baseball, and I got to go, take the wife on date night. And, it just, you have to find ways to automate things in your business. If you understand the concept and you agree with it, then find an affordable solution for somebody that can do it for you at the right math, and then go let them do it. If loyalty makes sense to you and all this, and this stuff makes sense, and you want an affordable solution and you don't want to do it, then God, reach out to us, reach out to somebody and automate the crap out of this. You want the best built by restaurant owners, you talk to us. But the reality is that anything, right? You're like any of these pieces of your business, your bookkeeping. That's another one of those things that I talk to people all the time about outsourcing, because there's people that will do that and do it well and better than you ever will. And they might even be doing 5, 10, 15 restaurants, which is fine. Because you know what? They're financial experts on restaurants.
They get the language.
I don't know. They're going to tell me. Ask a question. They're going to be like, well, these other 12 people that I work with do it all this way. Would you like to do it that way? Yep. Sounds good to me.
Yep. So true.
Or,
That'll be another podcast coming up.
Yeah. So plenty we can dig into. I mean, we do time management stuff all the time. But anyway, Jimmy, I love the conversation. I love the passion that you and I both share for this stuff.
We love helping the restaurant guys, especially the independents. We're here to help.
And if there's any topics you guys want us to cover, if you want our opinion on something, cold, hard, brutal, honest truth about the reality of the situation, just throw it out there. Hit us on Facebook, find us, message us, shoot us an email. Email address is on the screen. Shoot something over, and we will gladly dig into any topic you want.
Absolutely.
I'm very opinionated. I got some shit to talk about anyway.
All right. I mean, I might not like what we say, but it'll be honest and true.
Yes, I agree. Jimmy?
Peace out.
Officially signing off, sir.
Me too.
Great conversation. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to serving you in the future.
Be safe. Be blessed. See ya.